I don't feel good about being white every day.
This is the delivery mechanism.
And I'm just a female, but just a woman, just a white woman.
This is the payload.
If I was a white man, I would be functioning from a point of an even greater privilege.
If I see a group of young men, and they're like kind of boisterous, I get really nervous. And he's like, well, what if they're black guys? And then she's like, no, wait.
They want to use conviction rates to show the percentage of men that engage in sexual crime relative to women. They don't want us to actually look at the racial composition of the men who are going to jail for sexual assault.
And then they create a hierarchy, and it puts straight white guys at the very bottom and all the other men like just above that. And then you get onto the other identities, right?
It is impossible for the CDC, that is the Center of Disease Control, to find 3 years in a row parity in sexual assault victimization with significant amounts of that victimization done by women to men.
I think that it's a fundamental unfairness that women are allowed to vote on policies for warfare that they then don't have to go fight.
Men don't get the vote if they don't sign up. Women get the vote by default. So literally, men actually have less of the right to vote. Not that the vote is a right, because it's not. But they have less of access to the vote than women do.
Keep your vote, but get rid of the narrative that you're a victim relative to men.
So that's the goal. Why I joke about the 19th all the time. I don't think it's going away because women would actually have to vote for that. And I don't think that's going to happen. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian. I'm here with Allison, and this is Maintaining Frame. 12 toxic manosphere beliefs about women that are actually true. We're going to be looking at a listicle that was put out there by MSN.com, and it is called 12 Toxic Beliefs About Women Men Develop Thanks to the Manosphere.
And that's us.
Yep, that's us.
Let's face it. Yep.
That's basically anyone online talking about relationships in a way that is like pragmatic or based on science or something.
It's anyone online addressing men as if they're a legitimate category of being. Let's be frank. So, it's not just relationships. It's also fitness advice. Any acknowledgement that men have a right to exist is part of the manosphere. Because men should live in a permanent state of proving their right to exist by submitting to institutional and feminist narratives. That's how it works, guys. So get those orders and start submitting to them.
Yep.
All right. Okay. So,
all right, so that's what we're going to do. Allison, go ahead and do the things.
Yeah, okay. If at any point throughout the show you want to send us a message, you have a burning desire to issue forth your comment, please do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. That's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Very best way for you guys to send us a tip, and the best way to send a comment with that tip. Once again, feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And we are doing our monthly fundraiser at feedthebadger.com/support. So please do help us out if you are able to. It's in the middle of the month, so I know you guys all like to wait till the last 30 seconds, like some sort of game of chicken with my sense of well-being. But yeah, if you'd like to support us a little bit earlier, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/support. And so what I wanted to do with this article is we're going to go through each one, and I have looked at, or I've found, essentially the opposite sex. So you just switch the genders in each comment and see how it maps to feminist orthodoxy. Right? So the question is, do each of these toxic manosphere beliefs about women, are they popular, normalized feminist orthodoxy? Do they exist as, if you just swap the genders, are they basically things that feminists assert and even base policy and expectations and what they say about the genders on? So the real question here is, are these supposed toxic manosphere assertions about women when you switch the genders and you find out that this is actually a very common feminist assertion and a very common assertion about men by women online, are they still toxic? Are they still seen as toxic? Are they more toxic on a fundamental level? And then the other thing we're going to look at is how much, when you switch the genders and map this onto feminist orthodoxy, how much are these attitudes towards the opposite sex worth in real money? I'll give you guys approximation of how much feminism is making off of the reverse gendered truthies, beliefs about men that these represent. Am I conveying what I'm saying? I'm saying that we're going to switch the genders and look at what's actually being said about men, not just
Right.
what the manosphere is allegedly saying about women. And then we'll look at each of these and look at the actual thing that normal people say, and whether we'll take these straw men and we'll turn them into the things that are actually being said, and we'll look at how reasonable those things are. So those are the three things that I plan. Hopefully you'll enjoy that. I really get a kick out of finding how much each of these feminist misandrist statements about men is worth in the greater economy. That always is very illuminating. But yeah, let's. Do you want to start with the first one?
Sure. Well, this is the introduction. So this
Okay.
is not the first list. This is introducing
All
the
right.
list. So
Yeah, let's introduce the list.
it's a 13 slides. So do you guys remember when you were in? Well, no, you're probably all too young when the teacher would bring out the slide machine and you had to watch slides.
But you were
And they were
excited
like
because
slides
it
that
wasn't
would
a
go with a
lecture.
record. They play like a record, and then he would like hit the slides when there would be like a sound. Do you guys remember that? I remember that. Anyway,
I think I was. I just remember them popping a VCR tape in the VCR player, and then we'd watch something.
that
for
was
the whole
later.
hour.
Yeah, that was when I got
That was
older.
later. Oh, okay, so the slides came first.
Yeah, they would do the slide machine, and there'd be like a record or a cassette tape that would accompany it. If you were like we were looking at a story or something, right? Like I remember I read Frankenstein, but I also watched Frankenstein on like a slide machine. But anyway, I digress. Okay, so we're gonna look at 13 slides. Slide number 1. The Manosphere, picture related. The Manosphere has become a bit of a digital rabbit hole, and it's remarkably easy for men to fall down it without realizing how much it's warping their view of the world. You've likely seen the clips of men in expensive suits talking about high value individuals and female nature as if they've cracked some secret code to life. On the surface, it's often sold as self improvement or harsh truths, but underneath the gym talk and the financial advice, there's a steady drip of ideas that turn women into opponents rather than partners. Do you want to say anything to that before I get into the paragraph of the intro?
Opponents rather than partners. Okay, so where do we situate that whole men oppress women for their own benefit? Where do we situate that narrative in the promoting men and women as partners versus mortal enemies? Where do we situate that? Right? And I know people are like, well, but that's the truth. No, it isn't. It's never been proven. There is no science that supports the feminist assertion that men oppress women for their own benefit. None. And they will say, well, there are men in charge. Yeah, but those men in charge don't use the power that they have to protect and provide for other men. See? You see how that works? So that's never been proven. So we have this narrative, this ubiquitous narrative, right? Men oppress women for their own benefit. And I don't know about you, but I think that creates a lot of resentment between men and women. Perhaps even an attitude that men are women's enemies. Hey? Yeah? And now we're talking about how men are embracing attitudes that make women enemies of them. Well, wasn't that already established? Like, why didn't we already establish that 75 years ago with women's studies programs? Right? We're living in the post men and women are mortal enemies era, and it wasn't men online that established this because there was no online 75 years ago. So how could there was no online manosphere 75 years ago when academia collectively decided that men Like, women are never men's enemies, of course. They're just angels, constantly being crushed by the forces of male malfeasance. So, but men are definitely the enemies of women. I think we established that, you know. But now we're going to be talking about how men did that. All right,
Yeah.
let's go.
If anything, the Manosphere just essentially informed men that women can see them as their enemy and that they should like prepare themselves.
Yeah.
Because most men are going into encounters and relationships with women assuming that women don't like that they haven't been propagandized for 75 years to fear and hate them. And it doesn't mean that every woman's affected by those things, but the manosphere is just letting them know, you know, these
Yeah,
people
sure.
have been conditioned to hate you and fear you, and
Mhm.
they may not, but they may.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, the women who evade this probably are outliers of particularly stout disposition, shall we say. Because this is I mean, you don't have to even talk to the manosphere. Just look at how women talk about men on Twitter. Like,
Yep.
it's rare to find
Or
women who are
Instagram
actually
or
supportive.
Facebook,
It's rare to
basically
find
anywhere
women who are
online.
actually supportive rather than overtly hostile. Okay.
Mhm. All right. The problem is that these beliefs aren't just harmless opinions, they're toxic scripts that make real, healthy connection almost impossible. Instead of learning how to build a life with someone, men are being taught how to manage or outsmart them, which only leads to a cycle of loneliness and resentment. These 12 beliefs on how the manosphere bit by bit completely destroys a man's ability to see women as actual human beings, proving that the red pill is often just a recipe for a very bitter and isolated life.
Okay. Okay. Like Brian was saying, the manosphere is making men aware, and I think actually the latest generation is very much aware that women regard men as their enemy. I think there's no pretense in that generation anymore. They're aware of that, like the young men of Generation
Mm-hmm.
Z. And if they're not really paying attention. But the manosphere is simply saying that. It's simply saying this is the effects of this narrative on women, right? That they are going to regard you as something that needs to be managed as a man. Like, women need to manage you because you are inherently evil, because you are inherently going to oppress her. So she needs to be constantly on guard in a relationship with you. And the manosphere is saying, well, this is the likely outcome of these messages on women and their behavior towards you. And maybe don't take it personally. Yeah. When she implodes your relationship because she's constantly assumed the worst about your behavior and your expectations, maybe don't take it so personally that you regard yourself as a burden that needs to be removed off the earth, right? That kind of messaging. But no, that's not allowed. We can continue. We can continue to promote the idea that men are women's enemies, but we can't recognize that promoting the idea that men are women's enemies causes women to treat men like their enemy. That's evil manosphere talk. I'm just okay. I know this is a bit of an aside, but I just recently learned that there is a hen house of feminist academics who are writing papers about me. Probably you
Really?
too, Brian. Yeah, they're writing papers about how I am a representation of how patriarchy captures women. Of course, there's just one, like the only one woman, so patriarchy is not very effective. But you know that's I'm evidence that patriarchy is backlash. Apparently, I know that there's plenty more. Like there's other people who are probably being written about as well. It's just a real startling to realize that no, they have a you could have a syllabus on me about how I am captured by patriarchy and have no thoughts of my own, and I'm simply a parrot of someone. I don't know who.
Well,
But
yeah, I mean,
I just find that,
how could you believe what you believe? Why would you go up against your own best self-interest, blah blah blah.
you know,
So,
I don't think it's in my self-interest, any of this. Like, I mean, I didn't go into it because I was like motivated by self-interest, but I just, at the end of like 20 years looking at this stuff, I don't think it benefits women. Definitely doesn't benefit men. But, let's continue. I just
All
wanted
right.
to point that out because
So
I'm just like
this is just the
really
intro.
weird
It's just
nerd.
like setting the stage. All right.
Okay.
I will say this though. When we started doing this in 2015, 12, I mean, you guys were doing longer, but I got involved in 2015. The mainstream websites, this is MSN.com, they would do anything to avoid talking about us, or they didn't know about us at all. Now
Mhm.
they realize they can't ignore us anymore. So now they're trying to
Mm.
attack us. And you know how the
Well,
saying goes,
but they
right?
did secretly.
First they laugh at you, then I don't know how it goes exactly, but then they attack you,
They
then you win. They ignore you, they laugh at you, they attack you, then
attack you,
you
then they
win,
learn.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think they're at the attacking part, which means that they are losing. And you're right, Generation Z, the young men growing up, they're coming up now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it's all of them. I know somebody in the chat's gonna be like, but they're just as cooked. Shut up. They are. There's more of them that are waking up to this stuff than previous generations. And yeah, I mean, could look at my generation. Generation X is probably like a lot of white knights. So
Mm.
I think
A
that
lot
that's
of
definitely changing.
calculate
And the fact
Blattman.
that they have to put out this propaganda to try to counter the messaging when these media apparatus are dying. Like there's a chart I was going to get that showed where legacy media, like the MSN and these websites, are actually like the least visited, and it's more the people on social media, the influencers and such, that are getting the most reach, and they're panicked. So that's what I think that this is desperation. Like they're trying to like put out whatever to try to stop this from spreading, and there's no stopping it. Like there's no stopping it. So
Mm.
all right, but anyway,
Yeah.
number one. And the fact that they put this in listicles tells you too how out of touch they are. Nobody really likes these. This is BuzzFeed shit. But anyway, number one, women are fundamentally less intelligent and rational than men.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, but
do you
what
want
if
me to
it's
read
true?
this, or do you want to say something about it right
What if
away?
it's true? Like, what if that is actually true? And in fact, creating an entire narrative in which women can shift blame for the consequences of their own actions onto men has actually made this a thing. Like I've seen studies on public perception of women's agency. It's declined since 1940. We see women as less agentic, like less that their actions have less consequences now than we did in 1940. Is this like progress? So what if it's true? Like, this is my question. What if it's true? What if that
What
is a
if?
thing that's happening? What if when I go on the Twitters and I ask Grok to look at a feminist's Twitter history and determine how much she reduces women's agency, so the recognition of the consequences of her actions relative to men, and then I say, Grok, estimate what she's soft lobotomizing out of her brain by doing that, and Grok says, her entire cerebral cortex. Maybe I'm onto something. Maybe teaching women to do this is making them less intelligent and more irrational. Feminism is making women less intelligent and more irrational. But well, of course we can have that discussion. You and me, Brian. Maybe not anywhere else, but certainly here among the with the woman who apparently is so stupid all she can do is parrot things that men have told her by some kind of thought transference. It's not me waking up at 3 a.m. and then just like being like, oh my God, I figured it out. No, it's somehow well, maybe that is patriarchy. Maybe it's the fathership beaming it into my head, in the middle of the night. Could be. All right.
Yep, could be. All
Next.
right. So I'm gonna read. Well, I'll read this. Do you want me to read this or no? Just go to the
Sure.
next
Yeah.
thing.
Read it. Just go to the next.
All right. The Manosphere pushes the idea that women are emotional, irrational creatures incapable of logic, and men are rational thinkers who shouldn't listen to women's perspectives. Believing this allows men to dismiss any criticism or feedback from women as emotional without actually engaging with what's being said. It creates relationships where men don't respect their partner's judgment, ignore their input on decisions, and treat them like children needing some male guidance. It isn't.
Because when a woman comes out and says that I don't know, I think that, no, I'll let you finish that, but I have
It's all right.
I have something.
It isn't
I have
based
a
on
thing to
reality.
say.
It's just a convenient way to avoid accountability when women point out problematic behavior. So it's just a way. This is like,
Wait,
again,
wait.
it's it's just a way for men to avoid accountability when women correctly, I guess, point out problematic behavior.
And that problematic behavior is basically that
Existing as a man.
existing as a man, but also that women they're making women feel bad, right? So, I mean, here's the thing: this assumes that this occurs when women. Okay, but when women are pointing out problematic behavior. So, what is the problematic behavior that women point out? Right? Wanting to go to the pub with your friends, wanting to
Yep.
play a game when you're unwinding. Like, what is the problematic?
Locker room talk, voting the wrong way,
Yeah.
asking questions that essentially, potentially frame women as responsible adults, like, why did you do these things that made you more vulnerable, which of course they just call victim blaming. I don't know, not simply worshiping them for existing. There's a number of things. There's
Yeah.
like, basically you can just go on TikTok and put in men and you'll get
But
like
what about
endless videos.
okay, but how about this as a question? All right. So it goes to the assumption that women are in a position to point out problematic behavior in men. What if they aren't? Hmm? What if that isn't, we can't assume that? What if women aren't constantly correct about their judgments of men's behavior? Okay, so what is the thing that this is assuming? It's assuming that women's emotions are convictions about men's behavior. And then it's saying if men are like, well, maybe your emotions are wrong. It's like, no, that's not allowed. Don't you understand that a woman's emotions are convictions of your behavior? You have engaged in felony upsetting. There's an assumption at the heart of this that women are to stand in judgment of men's behavior. Is there an equivalent thing for men? Can they stand in judgment of women's behavior? And if it's women's emotions that give them the wherewithal to do this, why can't men be like, I mean, you've accused me of felony upsetting. Perhaps I am innocent. Let's look at what made you upset and see if it's reasonable. That's not allowed. No, that is just more misogyny heaped on the felony upsetting. Oh, okay. I'm going to look at my chart. All right. So this is the feminist reframing, gender reversed mainstream framing about men. So this isn't just like these beliefs don't just come out of nowhere. They come out and they are direct, symmetrical, like remapping of feminist and women in general, I guess we can say that now, belief about men. Men are emotionally stunted, lack empathy, cannot communicate, and need women to civilize them. Male socialization makes men less safe and less relationally competent. That is a very common attitude towards men. And yet it is almost the direct reverse of what they are calling out and attributing to the manosphere. So at worst, what they've said is, oh, well, you see these attitudes that we've expressed about men for 75 years. The manosphere has turned them around and expressed them about women. That isn't cricket.
Yep.
All right. So okay. So what's the reasonable observation underneath? Sex-linked averages in temperament and interests exist, but intelligence and rationality overlap heavily. Not at the tails, though, guys. There tend to be more men who are not as intelligent and more men who are much more intelligent. And I actually think the average women are lower on the average too.
There are more male geniuses and there are more male morons. Women
Yeah,
are
I mean,
more
they're
towards the center of the curve, right?
yes, and women's risk assessment is 100% more sensitive than men's.
Yes.
So sometimes they are going to be wrong when they charge a man with felony upset, right? That according to this, men are not allowed to question. Both sexes misperceive each other's strengths and blind spots. Well, yes, because two sexes aren't necessarily completely understand what's going on with the other one. So this has a direct correlate among feminist misandry, feminist orthodoxy. So essentially what they're saying is Manosphere has reversed an element of feminist orthodoxy and applied it to women. And we don't like that. That's wrong. We got to have laws. There's got to be a law, right? Okay, next one.
All right, number 2. All women, and notice too that all of these like talking points are bringing up they're sort of like presented as like gross generalizations, like all women everywhere, always. Just like be on the lookout for these emotional words that they use to frame the case, because I don't think anyone is saying all the time, right? That and the whole thing superior inferior, like this previous thing where women are fundamentally less intelligent, like this is like the same emotional language. The purpose of it is to get people upset, and it works on women, by the way, because they are generally less rational, so they're going to see something like this, just something that makes a generalization, and they're going to lose it and they're going to get angry. And that's what MSN wants, because if they can't like make men essentially get back on the plantation and fall in line, then they can at least make the women angrier at those men. So, and then they'll just let the women do it. And I think that is an effective tactic. I did get a super chow I should read before I get into number 2. Richard Bier gave us $5 and says, "Is it time to start a fundraiser to cover the expenses of Allison confronting this henhouse feminist in person to bikini jello wrestle her into submission?" Thank you, Richard. Very tasteful.
Why would you want to put something so
You don't want to see that.
You don't.
I'm not
Nobody
talking about
wants to
Allison.
see that.
We don't know the other person.
No, I don't want to see that. No,
Yeah.
thank you. Well, I mean, we could do fully clothed jello wrestling. Oh, it's bikini. Well, we could do bikini over fully clothed jello wrestling. But then, like, who knows? She could be like a ham beast, right? And there's no purchase to be had, even without the jello. So there's like, how do you wrestle a ham beast? You just get out of the way if she falls.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep going.
All right, number 2. All women everywhere for all time are hypergamous gold diggers chasing resources. Manosphere ideology claims women only care about money and status, always trading up to richer, more powerful men while lying about their true motivations. This poisons men's ability to trust that anyone could genuinely care about them rather than what they provide. Every interaction with women gets viewed through suspicion and transactional thinking. Men who believe this become bitter and resentful, treating relationships as economic exchanges rather than emotional connections. The irony is these beliefs make them terrible partners, which then confirms their worldview when relationships inevitably fail. Haha, joke's on you, men. Let women be however they want. All right, so yeah. Do you want to say something about that?
All right. So the single biggest causal factor to whether or not a man is married is if he makes twice as much as at the average salary. And around the world, one of the biggest factors to divorce is a man losing his job. So this is actually 100% true. Women are hypergamous. They have not released men from their traditional expectations at all whatsoever. So on average, women weight status resources more and men weight youth looks more in mate choice. Okay. And both sexes can act opportunistically under certain incentives. So we're not like denying that, right? However, this narrative, let's reverse it. Let us reverse the genders and see if it maps onto any kind of feminist narratives. Men only care about youth and beauty. This is the feminist narrative, and sex. They disregard women as they age and replace them with younger models, male gaze, and trophy wife culture. So we've already got a feminist condemnation of men that maps 1-to-1 with what they're saying the Manosphere says about women. Okay. So yeah, that's once again, they're just basically accusing the Manosphere of what they are
Of
guilty
what
of.
they are doing. Yeah, they always
And
project.
also, while there is evidence that men like want youth and beauty, and there's definitely evidence that women want status and resources, right? At least the Manosphere is like, just that's a thing. Okay. This is basically saying you can't say that women are hypergamous while condemning men for their own what they prefer in a mate. Do you see what I'm saying? It's
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
so you can't just be honest about what men and women prefer. You cannot actually say that women still hold men to a traditional standard of providership, even though that is factually true based on the statistics. Like that, women are hypergamous. Okay, that is a thing, but we can't say that because I guess it's insulting to women. But we can say the equivalent to men. That's okay. All right, let's move on to the next one.
I was gonna say something else about this too. When they call it,
Sorry.
no, it's okay. The first two words, Manosphere ideology. So you notice they use the word ideology to describe the Manosphere. I don't think the Manosphere is an ideology. An ideology is a set of beliefs that give you like a fairly coherent framework for understanding the world, like how society, economy, whatever it is, works. But it also includes a guide to political or social action. Like it's basically implied a bunch of oughts that come with an ideology. Like, you know, I believe this, therefore we should do these things, right? The thing is, the red pill is not an ideology or the Manosphere. It's a toolkit. It's an understanding, and what you do with that knowledge. It's a set of tools that you get. What you do with them is up to you, which is why we have different like solutions, right? You have the red pill pickup guys, like the PUAs. They're not called PUAs anymore, but you got like your PUAs, you got like your MGTOW, you got your MRAs like us that are trying to like, you know, address the legal issues that are a problem. And then you got lots of other little like offshoots. You got pronatalists, you got all these other groups, you know, people who are just focused on the fitness, people who are just focused on the building of wealth. So I'm just saying, like when they say Manosphere ideology, they're trying to make it sound like a cult by attributing a set of not just like ideas with it, but like a mission, right? And that's not what it is. Like what you do with that knowledge is up to you. Some people just go on with life as normal. They don't even do anything. They just go with that understanding, and they use those tools to navigate that, you know, that environment. Like I have a friend who is with someone and he knows all the red pill stuff. He was a big follower of Kevin Samuels, but he's not like, he didn't plant his flag in like MGTOW or PUA or anything. He's just using the knowledge to like help himself, you know, navigate his relationships. So I think it's important to point out that when they say Manosphere ideology, they're trying to do this more of this emotional, scary language to make women think, "Oh my God, it's a cult," but it's not. So
No, it's just a recognition that men sort of have their own approach to life, really.
yeah,
Because think about how it keeps expanding. Like, look at like there was a document about the Manosphere that we read like a couple, I think a week ago, and they literally put everything in it, right? They everything related to a man having an opinion or wanting to pursue an aim.
mm-hmm.
I'm surprised they didn't put therapy in it. Oh, all the men, these men, they're man therapyizing. You know, I guess that's so female coded that it's always going to be okay. But I'm sure eventually we will see an article on man therapy and why it's bad, and why
Yeah,
men
right.
should go to the same therapists as women go to, and they shouldn't have therapists that recognize they might have different pressures or different expectations or different ways of approaching things like grief. No, that's not acceptable. I'm predicting it. Okay, I'm going to mark it. So let's say it's January 16th, 2026. Oh, God. January 16th, Allison predicts that eventually they'll go after man therapy, which is therapists who actually recognize that men are different than women or have their own attitudes or pressures or expectations or goals. And that's perfectly fine. They don't just say, well, everything that you face, women have it worse and you're to blame for everything. Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next, number 3.
Oh,
Women's
okay.
value decreases dramatically with age, while men's increases. The manosphere obsesses. So it's another one of these buzzwords, right? They obsess, like they don't sleep. They're like wide-eyed at 3 a.m, thinking about women
Like
hitting the
me?
wall. Like nobody does that, but they got to tell you this. They got to make it sound like they're crazy people that are irrational. The manosphere obsesses over the idea that women hit the wall around 30 and become worthless. More of this language, but men become more valuable as they age. It's deeply rooted in reducing women to their reproductive capacity and physical appearance while valuing men for their things that genuinely do improve with age, like career success. It encourages men to pursue much younger women and discard partners who've aged alongside them. The cruelty becomes
What?
obvious when you realize it's justifying abandoning women who've invested years in relationships once they're deemed past their prime. Okay.
Well, why is it that when women do sex tourism, they always go after like the 16-year-old Jamaican boys? Because I think that youth is
Cool boy.
equal
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I think youth is equal opportunity here, and I mean, and it, yes, it hits women harder because they have something called menopause, which is the end of their reproductive lifespan, and men don't have that as starkly. But why would something like yes, men prefer women of a certain age. That doesn't mean they're leaving their wives, as far as I can tell. In fact, it's women leaving their when it's 60, when you see 6-year-olds divorcing, it's initiated by the woman almost invariably. So obviously men are staying with their wives. So what is even okay, what is this even? All right, so
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so women's value decreases dramatically with age. Men become less desirable with age if they don't actually achieve. So they go from being maybe somebody with potential to immature, stuck, or Peter Pan. So there is also like an ageism quality for
Yeah,
this,
failure to
except it's
launch.
in the
Mhm.
failure to launch. So men are also judged for their age and their achievement corresponding to that age. So yeah, it's not quite a 1-to-1, but then there's also all of the feminist celebration of women going after younger men. Is that like this is celebrated now in female culture, right? So they're taking a biological reality and they're blaming it on men. And there's not really an equivalent one for men, so there's no real 1-to-1 reversal. But here is the less strawmanned. Physical attractiveness and fertility decline with age for women, income status, and some competencies rise with age for men. Both sexes face trade-offs as they age. And the honest to God thing is that this isn't even in play anymore. Women want a man who looks like he's 25, has the money of a 55-year-old and the wisdom of a 75-year-old. Right? They're not even tolerating age in men. The standards have gotten so high.
Mhm.
So this seems to be behind the curve. Shall we move on?
Yeah. The other thing I wanted
Wait.
to add to this
Here's
too is that even though all these things are true, well, in terms of like the wall and this and all that, there's also some claims in here that men would be really irrational because that they would just like leave their partners for a younger woman. Only a certain class of man can do that. Most
Mhm.
men, like the overwhelming majority, can't do that, and they know it. So they're not stupid. Leonardo DiCaprio gets away with it because he's Leonardo DiCaprio, okay? And these women are still butthurt over that, by the way. So it just tells you that when they talk about what they don't like, that men, like this idea that as a man gets older, his sexual market value goes up, assuming that he like follows through on everything in the same way that a woman's sexual market value is good when she's younger, assuming that she takes care of herself. Because you can have like
Mm.
somebody who's unattractive that's very young as well, because they didn't take care of themselves, because they weren't maintaining themselves, right, while also investing. And but the thing is that even if you were a man who did that, that doesn't mean you're going to have the same access that like a guy in the 1%, the top 1% has, which is often what these things refer to when they say, well, these men are just
Yeah.
going to do this to women. They're talking about the men at the top that can do that because they have women lined up. So,
Mhm.
like that's
Yeah,
not
it's
the average man.
non-starter.
Even if the average man is aware of it, this is so that they understand the way the world works. That's all this is,
And honestly, I still think like if you age matched men and women, even into your 70s, I think women would probably still have that premium on being able to get sex.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not once you hit the point where, widows outnumber widowers like 5 to 1, but think about it. Like this is basically women complaining about getting a huge bonus at the beginning that declines over time. Right. And then, they have to move into a different stage in their life. They have to become a mother. They have to become, a matron. They have to start thinking about raising something else and investing in something else, not just being, available for a few more grabs on the marketplace. And
Yeah.
that's just so petty. And if men were complaining about something like that, if men got a huge bonus at the beginning of their lives, feminists wouldn't tolerate it for a second. But here's some additional stuff. Industries around empowering older women's dating and sexuality, plus narratives that older single men are creepy or dangerous. Okay, so this is like that. There is also this undercurrent that older men are creepy, right, and predatory. We don't see that with women. If a woman is dating like a 50-year-old woman is dating a 22-year-old man, they don't think of her as predatory, but think about a man doing that. He's automatically cast as predatory. But anyway, I think that this is, like I said, there's not a really good one-to-one here. This is just basically griping about being handed a gigantic bonus at the beginning of your reproductive life and then frittering it away on nonsense. Okay,
Exactly.
let's keep.
Yep, that's
Okay.
what it is. All right.
Okay.
Number
Four.
4, women are naturally manipulative and deceptive. According to Manosphere logic, separate from normal logic, again, note the language. All women are master manipulators using crying, emotions, and sexuality to control and exploit men. This frames normal human behavior, like expressing feelings, as calculated manipulation designed to get something from men. It makes men
Okay.
suspicious. What?
No, finish the sentence. Sorry. I
It makes men
mistimed that.
suspicious of genuine emotion, treating vulnerability as a weapon rather than human connection. Do you want me to finish the paragraph?
So I just learned today that Manifestel is part of the Manosphere.
Yeah.
Like, what do all the dating strategy women say? Use sexuality and manipulation to get that bag. Like I'm watching this come out of the mouths of what I presume are women, right? Shira looks like a woman. Manifestel looks like a woman. Byrony and Rainbow Shite seem to be more on the political end of all of this, but all of the dating strategy women, this is exactly what they say to do to men. And then I've heard just regular women discuss dealing with men, and they discuss relationships like with men the way I don't know, intelligence analysts during the Cold War would have discussed the Soviet industrial complex. It's like, well, if we move our missile base, if I move my missile base into the bathroom, then I think I'll have a good strategic, leverage over him. And I'm like, this is not coming from men. If anything, from my experience, and I'm coming from the side of possibly the most paranoid men, yeah, men are not paranoid enough. Women are like, they're just, like I said, they've been propagandized, as Brian would say, for 75 years into this narrative that men are their dire enemies, which is why you get these female dating strategists who talk about relationships the way you would expect of someone talking, in like, I don't know, the French court about deadly intrigue. I gotta make sure that I don't reveal any of my vulnerabilities, and I gotta go quickly, quickly, and I don't look frightened because he might strike. And this is like coming from women. It's psychotic. I mean, like I said, this particular woman I'm thinking about, right? She had that particular affect where they do with a really low voice and then the very stone face, right? And she was talking about this relationship like she was angling for position in a Cold War. And why would you be in a relationship with someone who you think is your geopolitical enemy? Why would you do that? And this is the end result of feminism saying that. Basically, women think this is normal. And men, on the other hand, are just like blindsided by this. They get into the relationships with women like this and they don't know where that came from because they get a different message. There's like, oh yeah, being in a relationship with a woman is going to be so wonderful. She's going to listen to what I have to say. She's going to care about my interests. She's going to care about my feelings. We're going to build a life together. It's going to be an adventure. And then you find out that the woman that you're with is treating you like a foreign power that is at any moment poised to engage in nuclear annihilation against her, continuous states or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And men are just blindsided by that. And also that this woman who has been primed to regard you as an enemy has one foot out the door all the time. And the manosphere is like, well, this is how you deal with it. But are we done?
Or this is how you avoid these consequences.
Yeah, this is how you avoid these consequences.
Happen to a friend or something like that, right?
Yeah. So did you finish reading this?
There's a little bit more. When you view every woman as fundamentally dishonest, again, more of this, broad strokes stuff, you can't form trusting relationships because you're constantly looking for hidden agendas. It also conveniently absolves men of responsibility. They're just innocent victims of women's schemes. Wow, the projection on that. That is
innocent victims of women's schemes. So yeah, that projection on that is incredible. Okay.
Should I go to the next one?
No, I have to
Oh yeah, you gotta get your things out. Okay.
Yeah. I navigated away from it, which was a mistake. Okay, so here is the gender reversed item that slots into feminist orthodoxy. Men are manipulative, coercive, predatory, gaslighting, coercive control is framed as male typical tools to dominate partners. Okay, so we have this one that women are naturally manipulative and deceptive, but the feminist framework is that men essentially use intimate relationships as a staging ground for rape and beating in order to maintain patriarchy. So which of these is worse? Fundamentally, which of these is more hateful towards the opposite sex? So again, we have a situation where the manosphere hasn't even reversed that, right? They're alleging that women use manipulation and deception to uphold a gigantic oppressive sisterhood. They just say that this is something that they're inclined towards, which science also says, because women use indirect aggression more and they use narrative making more, right? And they use false accusations more to get what they want because in part they are not as strong. And also because in some ways they do have more social skills when it comes to motivating others to do things for them. So yes, there's a little bit of there's a kernel of truth to this, but then if you compare it to what feminists say about men, it's trivial. First of all, I don't think manosphere, like, let's see, both sexes can and do manipulate. So this is the actual probabilist statement. Some relational strategies, crying, charm, intimidation, stonewalling, are sex type, but dishonesty is not exclusive to one sex. So that's the AI like neutral analysis. But let's bring it down to what actually is true. Women do use more narrative framing, more social tactics in order to get what they want. This is factual. Like, there's no argument about this. And if you want to really play a game of whose narrative, sex-based narrative, is worse, feminists win hands down in this. Because they aren't just saying that men stonewall or they tend to just internalize things. They're literally saying that men use intimate relationships to pursue a program of rape and domestic violence against women to uphold patriarchy. So they're literally saying that men regard relationships in terms of doing war crimes against the enemy. Okay? Do you see how these things are not really comparable? Manosphere. Yep. Yeah, women can they can be deceptive and lie, you know. They tend to do that a bit more because they use more social tactics. Feminism. He's going to rape and beat you to uphold his friendship with other men.
Also, don't forget another reason why women are they're more they might do it more is because we kind of like incentivize that. We incentivize that, so they do it. If you want to discourage bad behavior, then you have to discourage.
Disincentivize, yeah.
You have to disincentivize it, exactly. So, like, we incentivize it, we support it, we promote it, socially, culturally, financially. So women do it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Shall we do the next
number 5? Number 5. High value men deserve multiple women, but women should be monogamous. The Manosphere promotes the idea that successful men should have access to multiple women, but those same women should remain loyal and exclusive. It's a massive double standard that gets justified through evolutionary psychology arguments that are basically just post hoc rationalization for wanting to cheat without consequences. Men are encouraged to view monogamy as limiting their potential while demanding absolute loyalty from women. The entitlement here is staggering. Women get treated as rewards for male success rather than autonomous people with their own desires and boundaries. I'll let you have that one if you want.
All right. So the reverse is high value women are told never to settle, keep options open, date up, and leave men who don't meet standards. Male reluctance to commit is demonized, while female serial monogamy is framed as growth. And also there is quite a bit of a push towards female polyandry, polygamy. So I don't know. Like, I think this is behind the curve. And also there is a beloved religion that sort of promotes this exact thing, that high status men should have multiple wives. And not only does it promote it, it creates an entire religious framework that accepts and justifies it, you know? So I don't know. I feel like this one might be a little bit Islamophobic. Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Okay. Yeah, isn't
All
it?
right. Let's move on. Again, This is another thing where they think that there's a double standard going on, but the problem with this is that women are willing to share a high status man.
Yeah.
But
or
also
fight
be
over
loyal
him.
to that high status man. It's not even because those men demand it or expect it. It's because women actually go along with it. Like they do this all the time. Like and without knowing it sometimes, where there's like, you know, you have like in the let's say the urban monoculture, like in the big urban centers like Chicago or New York or LA or Compton or whatever, you'll have like a bunch of women dating the same drug dealer or the same gang leader or the same whatever, right? There's a high status man, whether it's because he has a lot of finances or like basically got control over he's got a monopoly on the violence. which is another way of getting resources. And those women, they'll be all the women in the neighborhood could be sharing the same guy. There's a whole Reddit, isn't it? Like, are we dating the same guy? That's
Yeah.
an example of that. So women are doing this. It's not men are expecting this. As women are doing this because they want to be the one. They want to be the
Yeah.
exclusive. And they think they deserve that. But the man is
Yep.
just like, well, I guess I'll just take all of this, right? So
Why not?
yeah.
Yeah, well, literally, it's because if a man has multiple women, that's social proof that women are drawn to, right?
And he's
Because
gonna
they
get more
want they
women.
want to win, right? He's going to
Yeah.
get more women. When a woman has multiple men, men aren't drawn to like this. So a lot of this stuff is a problem of how women stack their desire. Women like men with social proof. They like men who are desired by other women. Well, what happens? What are those men doing? Well, they have options. And they often, because of the way that the dating culture is organized now, it almost is like men have to present this attitude that he can walk away at any point because she's at the end of 3 generations of being taught that men are oppressors, and any kind of wanted trust in a relationship is just a platform that he's going to use to abuse her. And he's always has a foot out the door, and she regards her social value in terms of rejecting men. It's almost like that incentivizes men to keep their options open, even to just stabilize a one relationship. So this whole incentive structure is put in place by women, by what they choose to believe about men, what they choose to value in men, that they want to have. They want to see men with social proof. Men aren't the same. They don't. That if they like that woman, they like that woman. They don't need to know, unless they're French, that a whole bunch of other men are orbiting her, right?
Mm-hmm.
The French are different, but we don't have to talk about that right now.
All
I'm
right.
just saying that they are an exception that proves the rule. Generally, if you're not a Frenchman, a woman being more attractive to other men, or even being in relationships with other men, doesn't make her more attractive to men. Okay, so this is a thing that women are doing. They don't have this standard, and then they blame men for having the standard that they don't have. Like, they don't have the standard that says, well, if there's a whole bunch of other opposite sex members orbiting this person, they're actually less attractive. No, instead it's more. So again, this is just women doing this to themselves. Oh, wait, I just did a felony upset. Okay.
Okay. Next.
Yeah, well, let me see what I got here.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Let's see. Okay, let's go to the next one.
Okay, go on to the next one. Feminism has destroyed women and society. I mean, oh, and check this out. This right here, I think, is what the real talking point. So all the other stuff is building to this. Now, this isn't like the final point on the slides, but I think this is the real thing that's being preserved here. This is what they're trying to salvage. So the Manosphere blames feminism for everything from divorce rates to male loneliness, claiming women were happier when they had fewer rights and options. It romanticizes a past where women were economically dependent on men and had limited choices, framing coercion as natural order. It suggests women having autonomy and equality has somehow broken society, rather than expose that many relationships were based on women having no better options.
Okay.
Men who believe this want to return to systems where women needed them for survival rather than choosing them freely.
Well, they don't choose them freely. They still hold them to the same standards they've always been held. Like, women still hold men to the same traditional standards, while basically increasing the bar for when women regard them as fulfilling those traditional standards. Like, 75 years ago, a man could be a decent family man and breadwinner if he was working as a gas station attendant. Right? There would probably be a woman who would wife that up, husband that up. I guess it could go either way, but that's not the case anymore. Okay, so the standards have just increased; they haven't gone away. And what's happened is feminism has refused to acknowledge that. And then it's blamed men for the fact that they've realized that women are not letting them leave their traditional roles. That's not going away. And maybe they would like women to have a corresponding expectation towards them in a relationship. That's it. And then they're like, oh my God, they want them to go. And here's the other thing. Men were dependent on women in the past too, materially. Like, I mean, the further back you go prior to the Industrial Revolution, the more true that is. Right? You know, if
Yeah.
you wanted anything close to a comfortable life, and in the past, it was even more difficult for men to just sort of go out on their own and be hermits because they didn't have the kind of technology that we have now, or post-industrial technology that even makes that more possible. So in the past, men were materially dependent on women. That's never put in this analysis. It's always women were reliant on men. You know what I think this really is? All of this insecurity in women is because men are no longer reliant on them, right? So there's no longer this physical and material exchange in marriage. Now they are reliant on men or the jobs that men mostly create, really, right? And it's created a massive insecurity in women. And feminism just keeps feeding that black hole by misdiagnosing where the insecurity is coming from. And again, men who believe that they want to return to systems where women needed them. Okay, well, if women were choosing them freely, why would men even care about returning to systems where women needed them? Huh? Because that's the point. The point is that they see that women don't choose them freely. They choose them based on how well they have assumed the traditional role. And they are in a society that heavily penalizes them and prevents them from assuming the role that makes them attractive to women. And feminism is, I mean, I don't think there's another social force that's more behind that particular situation for men, right? Because if men actually attain the level of success required to be attractive to women, feminism will say that they did that unfairly and then put in a whole bunch of roadblocks to prevent it. Right? But feminism will not take women to task for continuing to expect men to occupy traditional gender roles. So yeah, feminism, I'm sorry, like you keep flinching every time I hit the I guess I need to be more careful about that. I'm sorry, buds. Okay. Shall we keep going?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, I have reversals. I didn't even get to the point of reading my reversal. We're doing pretty good. We're on 6.
I just want to add just real quick. It says here that women are like, they want to return to systems where women needed them for survival rather than choosing them freely. Like women, even independent women that don't need no man today, are relying on men though. Like they're maybe not like men that are like close in their lives, but like the places where women work are very likely companies that were built by men. The all of the conveniences and advantages they have were built by men. They're not escaping like the need for men. They just don't. They want to pretend like they don't, but they're still living in that. Like if you just left them out, like if the men just quit for a day, it would be over. Like they wouldn't have electricity, they wouldn't have their avocado toast, they wouldn't have their made up job titles to go to, because a lot of like women's work is like made up, or they work for the government, which is also basically just made up. So like their dependency on men hasn't really changed. They just don't have a man close to them in their life that they can like actually trust. And so instead they're depending on some abstract system that doesn't need them and can replace them with somebody else. They're just a widget now instead of like they're more of an object now working for like faceless corporations than when they were like in marriages with men, even if they were in like a more supportive role. But
they allow extremely the men who control those corporations to feel really good about themselves, that they are
because the men of the
elevating
corporations will have like a day for the women and they put it on the calendar, and they'll virtue signal, and the women will be like, well, they love me now, because they put
Yep.
a pink ribbon, on the
You know what they should call those days? They should call them My Harem Days.
yeah.
And they'll have like the CEO be like, yeah, this is my harem day. Come out, ladies. Let's celebrate you. Okay.
Nova Fan gave us $1 just now, and then we'll move on to the next page, or you can do your thing.
Yeah. So the reverse
Feminists
is
hated
patriarch.
Well, let me
sorry.
just read the Rumble rant. Sorry. Feminists
That's okay.
hated, it was $1. Feminists hated the past because they couldn't do whatever they want. Feminists hate the present because men aren't pandering to women like men used to. All right, thank you. All right, go ahead.
All right. So this is the reversal. Patriarchy has destroyed women and society. Male power is the core structural harm that must be dismantled. Male privilege is toxic by default, and men are toxic by default. That's the feminist reversal. And they have literally said that men are the enemy of women in society. And then men are like, I don't like that. Maybe feminism, that's not good. And then feminists are like, see, that's why they're the enemy. That's why men are the enemy. They don't like being said that they're the enemy. That makes them even more the enemy. And again, feminism, no proof of any of their assertions. That in fact, it's nobody's even thought, maybe we should prove that this actually exists, that men actually do. No. Okay. Let's do 7. Yeah.
Number 7. Women are biologically programmed to be submissive. Manosphere ideology, there goes that term again, claims women naturally want to be dominated and led by strong men. And modern women are just fighting their biology by wanting equality. It justifies controlling behavior as giving women what they secretly want, despite what they say. It's used to dismiss women's stated preferences as lies or confusion about their own desires. The reality is that some people of all genders prefer more traditional dynamics, but framing it as biological inevitability is just a way to avoid respecting women's actual choices and autonomy.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to do one gender.
They want to be
I'm gonna
dominated
do
by
the feminist
minotaurs,
flip.
though, as far as I understand it. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe wolf,
As long as you have
werewolf,
horns, dude,
vampire assassins,
or a tail, they'll take it. Horns or a tail. Okay.
Yeah.
Or fangs. Yeah, there you go. Those are the trifecta. That's what you need, man. This is how you deal with women today. You need horns. You heard it here. Horns, tail, fangs. Go for it. Go get them. All right. So one reversal. Actually, this isn't even a reversal. It's just an analysis of what feminists are saying. Okay. Feminism itself refuses to make the connection between women's actions and their consequences. Right? So it will frame things like stereotype threat or some kind of lingering patriarchal influence as why women make the choices they make, instead of actually recognizing that women are making the choices that they make. So when you take their entire framework to its logical conclusion, women don't think independently of men. Right? A woman, a Bible's admonition for a woman to be submissive to a man is probably more like, hey, he might know things that you don't. Give him a chance and please trust him that he cares about you and wants to do the best by you. Like but feminist submission is like, ladies, men write your thoughts for you. It's like, how much more submissive so feminism wants the framework in which women are absolutely and utterly submissive to men, to the complete incapacity, inability to recognize women as having any kind of autonomous identity outside of men unless they adhere to feminism like a barnacle to a boat, right? They want to see women as just being reflections of men, so submissive. Like they're basically just shadows of men's thoughts, and yet say that women are not submissive to men. Well, which is it, feminism? Why don't you decide before you complain that manosphere men are like, I think feminism is saying women are submissive to men. And if it says that women are submissive to men, then men, I guess, have to take charge and make sure that she's taken care of, herpaderp. Like, this is just responding to the thing that you've asserted about women, feminists. But that's not the reversal. That's just following the logic. Sorry, this keeps turning on. I don't know if you're hearing that.
No, I'm not
It's
hearing
like a
anything.
gong sound. Okay.
All right, next.
No, men are
Yeah. Go
biologically
ahead.
aggressive, dominance orientated and risk taking, which is used to explain violence and justify re-engineering masculinity. So women, these feminist women, think that men need to be re-engineered either socially or otherwise to not be what they are, and they explain that because men are aggressive and dominant. So they need to be stopped from that. So while complaining that men recognize that feminists say that women are incredibly submissive, they also say that men's dominance, which that's a bio truth now, the feminists, is reason why men need to be controlled by feminists. Right? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So essentially, the Manosphere has said women are submissive, allegedly. Women are submissive, therefore, they want to be controlled by men. They want to be led by men. Okay. And feminists say men are aggressive, therefore, they need to be controlled by feminism. And honestly, I think that the Manosphere one is less offensive, because feminists also say that women are so submissive that they're basically just reflections of men, but they don't allow that men could lead them, that women are so submissive, but men could actually lead them to their benefit. Did you see the difference? So men's dominance must be controlled and curtailed by feminism. I'll let you comment on that, Brian. If there's something that doesn't make sense in what I'm saying.
Would you restate that, please?
All right. Feminists' framework, if you take it to its logical conclusion, says that women are so submissive that they are basically shadows of men's thoughts.
Yes.
Right? But feminist framework also says that men are so aggressive and dominant that they need to be continuously controlled, or they will be violent oppressors of women. The Manosphere is saying that, yes, women are submissive, but that means that men should lead them in positive ways. So the difference is that it's exactly the same thing. The difference is the Manosphere acknowledges that men's leadership can be of benefit to women, and feminist says that is never true unless we have complete control over everything.
Yes.
So basically, they're just saying the same things, except one is more an acknowledgement that you can create a relationship out of this, right? And the other is a political position in which everybody gets controlled by this faction. But it's essentially the same thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I follow.
So, I mean, yeah, and the Manosphere is basically saying, but what if feminists are right and women are really, really submissive, because that's what feminists are saying, that women are just shadows of men's thoughts by definition based on their theories or conjecture. But what if that's true, but men could be a good thing for women? And feminists are like, oh my God, that's terrible. That's the worst thing I've ever heard. Of course, because they think that men are the worst thing that ever existed. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to number 8.
All right. Number 8. Women use physical intimacy as a weapon and manipulation tool. The Manosphere teaches that women deliberately withhold or provide physical intimacy to control men's behavior, making intimacy transactional rather than mutual. This makes men view their partners as adversaries in a power struggle rather than people they share affection with. It also frames women's natural fluctuations in desire as calculated manipulation rather than normal human sexuality. When intimacy becomes a battlefield, healthy intimacy dies. Everything gets viewed through suspicion and resentment rather than genuine connection.
Oh, good Lord. Oh, you are going to totally be slammed in this one, feminism. Okay. Women use, and what they mean is women can use physical intimacy as a weapon and a manipulation tool.
Most of these claims of what women actually do are simply, the reality is that it's simply a thing that they can do.
Yes, exactly.
And they're incentivized to do.
Yeah, and incentivized in the current narrative that treats men as their dire enemies, which isn't beneficial to women. It's only beneficial to corporations, governments, NGOs, media, big media, and bureaucratic graft, and that kind of stuff. Women, I know this might come as a shock. Women are most benefited by having a healthy relationship with a man. That's that. If a woman wants to invest in her future happiness, that's what she does. But if she wants to invest in corporate or government or bureaucratic grafts, future happiness, she becomes a feminist. Okay, so when men, this is the feminist reframe. Like we flip the genders and we look and see if there's any feminist orthodoxy that matches it. And here it is. Men weaponize sex and relationships using coercion, cheating, withdrawal, and even rape as tools of patriarchy. Relationships are sites of male violence. That's the feminist framing of relationships. He's all over feminism. It's all over the people who are currently writing policy about how men and women are supposed to relate legally and socially. Okay? So, which is worse here? Women can use physical intimacy as a weapon and manipulation tool, and men weaponize sex and relationships and even use rape as tools of patriarchy and relationships themselves. Just relationships, right? Not a relationship with a toxic woman, just a relationship with a man is a site of male violence. Yeah, I think feminism blows the manosphere right out of the water in terms of hatred, contempt, demonization of the opposite sex. You know, manosphere guys, you got to really step up your game. You're lagging. Get good. Okay.
Yeah, get good, scrubs.
9.
All right. 10. Single mothers are damaged goods and bad
I thought that's 9,
partners.
isn't it?
No, this is. Oh, you're right, number 9. Right? It's the 10th slide, but it's number 9
It's
on
a
the
little
list.
bit confusing.
Yeah. Single mother. Oh, I got some Rumble rants. Let me read those first. I forgot. NobaFan21 gave us $1 and says, depending on where the future takes us, the women not able to work a job will be living in a world worse than what they imagine the patriarchy would be, as men would have AI chatbots rather than them. Well, they can already use AI chatbots now, technically. NovaFan then gives another $1 and says, request, can you let me know if the slideshow acknowledges the women who openly say they want a traditional man while she refuses to be a traditional woman? No, of course not.
No, of course not. That's all. That's
None of
basically
this.
all women.
The thing about these articles and listicles that are going after like people who are critical of feminism, the manosphere, the red pill, all this other stuff, you know, people who are frustrated with dating, incels, they never, ever, 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 ever actually try to figure out what women want. Because they don't care. It's about widening the chasm between men and women. And if they ask women what they want, they might get an answer they don't like. In fact, they're probably going to get an answer they don't like, because it's going to expose what the red pill is talking about. That there's a mismatch on what women say they want and what they really want. And part of that is because women are being told what they're supposed to want by this kind of like social approval that's heightened and exaggerated by academia and the corporations and the government, etc., that basically tell them this is what a good man is and this is what a bad man is, in which case there are very, very few good men. Most men are bad. So women are encouraged to, you know, marry the government or work for the government and become a tax slave, just like the men, and see the men as their enemies. And so when you have a woman that's like, well, you know, I kind of I'd like to get married. I think I want kids. I think I just want to be a stay-at-home mom. Then that's probably a lot more women than you think. But feminists will never, ever, ever, ever admit that, because it would, in fact, completely shatter everything. So instead, they just pretend they know what women want, never ask them, and then they use that to gaslight women into thinking that's what women are supposed to want, because women are usually looking at what the popular consensus is, and they go along with consensus, and they say, well, I guess this is what everybody else is doing, so I'm going to do it, even though it's not really what's going on. You understand? Like, it's like the silent majority is being excluded from this, and the men are just being like framed in isolation. So anyway,
Okay.
Let me see. So yeah, you're not
None.
going to see that slide. Nova fan. It's not going to happen. Number 9, single mothers are damaged goods and bad partners. Manosphere communities viciously attack single mothers. More emotional language. Like they're stalking them on their pages instead of just calling them what they are, I guess, like, which is probably the worst thing you might get. Claiming their poor choices for relationships and that their children are burdens no man should accept. This dehumanizing belief ignores the circumstances that lead to single parenthood and treats women's worth as permanently damaged by having children with someone else. It's particularly cruel because it punishes women for relationship failures, but the fathers of those children face no similar stigma. The belief stems from possessiveness and the idea that women with children have been used by other men.
You wanted the power to decide whether or not you are a parent and the man you had sex with is a parent. So now that you have that power, it is your responsibility that those children exist. Not the man, yours, because you wanted that power, and the exercise of that power only exists with women. Okay. I know I've said, if you were a woman who had a child with a man who was 100% on board, got married, everything, and then just screwed off, however long into the relationship, yes, that this doesn't apply to you. That is not the majority of single mothers, right? That is not the majority of single mothers. The majority of single mothers are having sex with men who have multiple baby daddies. They are
Who have
women,
multiple baby mamas. Yeah.
baby mamas. Yeah. They probably have multiple baby daddies too. All right. And they are women who decided to leave their partner. And incidentally, if their partner has a relationship with his children, which he should, they aren't single mothers. They're co-parenting mothers. So the only thing left is women who have decided to exclude men from their relationship with their children, and women who had children with men that it was probably obvious they shouldn't have had children with. Okay? And they have made the unilateral decision because they asked for it. Literally, women are like, we want the unilateral decision, decide if a child is brought into the world. Good, great, you've got it. Oh, we're not responsible for the unilateral decision to decide if a child enters the world. Yes, you are. And with that, you get a lot more criticism and scrutiny for when and where you make these choices because you asked for them. And of course, you're not going to get that anywhere but here because, us, right? Because I'm fine with being apparently a misogynist or whatever, because I say that women make choices and the consequences of those choices are their consequences. And in this case, single mothers usually choose that. Most single mothers have chosen that. They either had children with men who are marginal and it was obvious, or they removed a man from his child's life. Right? Now, let's look at the situation where men are judging this. If a woman already once has removed the children of her ex from his life and from their lives, why would a man sign up for that? It's like, how a woman, if a man said, I've been accused of rape a couple of times. Yeah, I've even been arrested. And in fact, I'm currently out on bail.
I'm on a sex offender registry, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm on a sex offender registry.
I promise you, there's a real good explanation.
There's a real good reason. There's a real good explanation for it. Would you have a problem with a woman being like, well, I would like to hear that explanation, and I may do a little bit of investigating myself, but until then, I don't think I'm going to be alone with you or pursue a relationship with you. No, that's what now, it's not exactly the same level of threat, but it's potential threat. If a man pursues a relationship,
it's a red flag.
Yeah, it's a red flag. If a man pursues a relationship with a single mother, he is inviting the possibility that he will lose contact with any child that he has with her in the future. Okay? And men who are biparental mammals, they're part of a biparental mammal species, find that intimidating. And that is a good thing. That is an absolutely good thing. In fact, you want men to find that intimidating. You want men to avoid women who give even the hint of suspicion that if they have a child with this woman, that woman will take that child away from them. And why do you want men like that? Because men like that are highly invested in their children, and men like that produce a society that's worth living in. So don't you dare stigmatize men for disliking women who give a whiff of the possibility of taking future children away from them. That's exactly the way men should be. Exactly the way men should be. Now, the other thing that I've heard is that men don't want to get involved in single mothers. This is one actually really heart-wrenching reason. There was a man on a comment that I read once who said that he was the kid of a single mother, and he remembered having a man come into his life, and initially it'd be like, oh, it's like this great thing because he's got a sort of a father figure now. But as soon as the woman gets bored, out, go, gone. I'm not interested in you anymore. And his relationship with this new father figure was broken, and it happened over and over and over again. And he doesn't date single mothers now because he doesn't want to do that to their children. Okay? Nobody is talking here about the situation for the children. It says single mothers are damaged goods. Yes, they're damaged goods, but even more so, their children are damaged by their choices. And nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about that. And why would a man who understands that children get attached want to do that to the child of a single mother if he's a decent man? Why would he? Right? So, yeah, single mothers are damaged goods. Now, you might have a single mother again who had a man who was invested and then suddenly just poof, gone. Fine. It's not really her fault. Or maybe it is a situation of genuine abuse, not really her fault.
Or
right?
he
And maybe,
died. She's a widow.
or he died,
Yeah.
not really her fault. Or he wasn't willing to at least partially pay for the family, so she had to leave because of economic reasons. Understandable, you can't let your kids starve, right? There are factors, but this isn't true about most single mothers. Most single mothers are single because they are selfish and they are contemptuous, and they do not know how to keep an adult relationship, right? That's why. And they don't actually care to be with a man who will invest in his children. And look for those kinds of men, right? And make sure that they are signaling to those kinds of men that they aren't going to just on a whim decide to break his relationship with his kids. And again, this is exactly what we want from men. We want them to stay away from women when they have a hint that those women might not allow them to be in the lives of their future children, because those men are pair bonders and they are men who invest in their children. That's what we want. We want men who think twice about entering the life of a child when the mother can just remove him at any point, causing even more strain and stress to the child. Because those are men who are thinking about the child's situation, right? And there's one other category of single mom. Maybe you realized your mistake and you're trying to be better, okay? Because we all make mistakes, right? And we can try to be better in our lives, and that's what's important. But if you are trying to be better, you're listening to me and you're saying, yes, that's true. That is actually true. I was doing that.
Yeah, you understand that you are going to have a hard time finding a new partner based on your poor choices
on your
from
past
before,
behavior.
and you're approaching any future potential relationship with humility, so that you understand that you're not in the best bargaining position, and you're gonna have to. I mean,
you have to do a lot of work.
Yeah, you got to work on yourself, exactly.
Because don't get me wrong, people can make mistakes, and then they can go on the path of redeeming their mistakes. And the situations where stepchildren see any kind of better outcome so that they're raised by a man who isn't their father is when the woman says, I made a mistake, but I got a second chance and I'm not going to fuck this up. And she sticks to that man like white on rice. Okay.
All right.
Number 10 or no, wait.
Number
No,
10.
single. This is the reversal
Oh,
for the
this.
feminist.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Single fathers are absent, dangerous, or incompetent. Men abandon families and leave women to pick up the pieces. Deadbeat dad narrative, right? Except fathers don't have, like, literally, we gave women the unilateral right to determine whether or not a child is born. Fathers don't have that right. So you're already looking at a situation where they're trailing a woman's decisions. But I would say that this isn't even strong enough. Feminists regard fathers as toxins and dangers to their children. Just fathers, like involved fathers. Like now I'm on multiple feminist created projects that suggest that a boy with a father in his life is the worst outcome, that causes the worst outcomes, which is not statistically true at all. But they are saying that a father, even an involved father, is a problem. That's what feminist rhetoric is saying. Look at adolescents, right? An involved father is a suspect person. So they're saying, well, how dare Manosphere men say that single mothers are damaged goods? But they turn around and say that all fathers are bad news. Are potential bad news, most likely bad news. Well, of course they're bad news because, relationships and fatherhoods are sites of male violence. Okay. 11.
All right. Number 10.
Oh, 10. Yeah.
Women can't be trusted with power or leadership. The Manosphere claims that women are unsuited for leadership, too emotional for important decisions, and will prioritize feelings over logic when given authority. It gets used to justify keeping women out of positions where they might have power over men. It conveniently ignores all evidence of successful female leaders while treating any female failure as proof of women's general incompetence. Men who hold this belief feel threatened by women in authority and can't handle reporting to or being led by women without resentment.
Yes, but women can't be trusted with power or leadership because
No, they can't.
Because, and I'll be really honest, this is why. Because what I see women doing with their influence is not recognizing that they are their brother's keeper and they need to use their power and influence to turn around and protect men and to make sure that men aren't exploited. Instead, they're using their power and influence for selfish reasons, to promote a narrative of continuous male blame, and to take away men's rights. Right? And this is what I'm seeing. Now, if women had stepped up and said, there are some problems that men face that we should use our political power to, ameliorate, to change, I wouldn't be saying that. I wouldn't even say that women shouldn't have the vote because they don't, have service to the state in wartime. If they genuinely use their power to protect men when men need it, I wouldn't say that women can't be trusted with power or leadership. But the truth is, if women in power and women in leadership positions think they don't have to care about half the human race, then they shouldn't be in them. And that's a hard no for me. Like, that's a hard line, right? On one side is women who manifestly don't act or talk like they care about men, despite the fact that men, when they are in positions in power and leadership, by definition, men are vulnerable to them. Okay. And I see women not recognizing that fact, continuing to operate on a narrative that anything that they do to men is just desserts. And this is my hard line in the stand. If women cannot learn that they are their brother's keeper, then they do not deserve any position of power. Period. That is my hard line in the stand. Okay, you can quote that as the manosphere. No, I'm not. I could hear like Rolo being like, "Fucking this woman is not the manosphere."
I invented it. I
I
invented it
invented it.
all. I invented you.
Well, apparently,
When I stop
according to
thinking, you disappear. When I go to sleep, you don't exist.
well, that's the
He invented
feminist
us
theory about
all.
women.
He's got like the infinity gauntlet of the manosphere, MGTOW, our PUAs, MRAs, the red pill, like it's all
Yeah,
I am
it was
inevitable. All right.
issued forth from Rolo's loins.
Yeah. I coined the term man. All right, but is this it for this, or did you? Yes.
Oh, I should do the reversal. That wasn't the
counterexample?
reversal. Okay,
Yeah.
this is the feminist reversal, and it does fit quite nicely into feminist orthodoxy. Male power and male-dominated leadership are inherently oppressive. Any male-led institution is suspect as patriarchy and must be fixed with gender quotas and oversight, which is what's really interesting, is because feminists recognize that when men are in positions of power, how they treat women and deal with women's issues is important. And that should be a dividing line between men who are in power legitimately and men who are in power not legitimately, is how they treat women, right? And yet that's basically my dividing line too. Women should not be in power if they cannot step into the role of realizing that they need to protect men too. That men are now half their constituency. They are now half of the people that they instruct in their jobs, et cetera, right? So isn't that interesting? It's sort of like it's a standard for men, but feminists are like, no, if you apply that standard for women, that's misogyny. As usual, as per usual. It's not really interesting. My surprise meter is very low right now.
Yeah.
Not that surprised.
Imagine my shock. Visualize my
Okay.
surprise. Okay. Let's move on to the next one.
Yep.
All right, number 11. Women's accusations are usually false and should be doubted. The manosphere has convinced men that false accusations are rampant and that women routinely lie about harassment, assault, or abuse for attention or revenge. It makes men dismiss women's experiences and side with accused men automatically. Statistics show false accusations are actually rare. So, statistics show, science suggests, according to the people who have a stake in perpetuating this myth, they said they've investigated themselves and found themselves not guilty of any crime. It's actually men that are the problem. Anyway, statistics show that false accusations are actually rare, but the manosphere amplifies every example to create fear and paranoia. Plus, it protects abusive men by creating an environment where victims know they won't be believed. It makes men view any accusation as probably a lie.
Okay, but here's the thing. This is
Why do they have a picture of a
process.
black guy on here, by the way?
No,
What are you guys
because
trying to say with that?
that's the demographic that is most hit by false accusations. There you go. I mean, why wouldn't you illustrate how false accusations are meaningless
Yeah.
with the black dude who tends to be subject to most of them, at least according to the Innocence Project's roster of cases, shall we say. All right, so there's lots of things happening here, as usual. The manosphere has convinced men that false accusations are rampant. Yes, they are. And that women routinely lie about harassment, assault, or abuse for attention or revenge. Yes, they do. It makes men dismiss women's experiences and side with accused men automatically. That's due process. You don't have to side with an accused man, but you have to suspend judgment if you are in a position to harm him. That is due process. This is the funny thing. Like, due process exists. Feminists most affected. That's what this is. Statistics shows false accusations are actually rare. No. If you compare like to like, that is proven false accusations to proven convictions, they are about 1 to 2. So one false accusation to maybe 2 convictions, something like that. So, it's not that rare. if you compare like to like. But what feminists do is they lump in all accusations, period, and only look at the ones that are proven false, right? So there's this huge gray area that they say, oh, of course, this is true, but it's a huge gray area where you don't know. And they don't compare the ones that are proven false to the ones that are proven true, because those numbers are actually pretty scary. You're looking at, for every 2 convictions, you get 1 false accusation. Isn't that a little bit different of a thought? Hey, you know how much they talk about rape constantly, about how women are in fear of it, and yet when you look at it this way, false accusations are, well, they're in the same order of magnitude of possibility for men. You know, that's isn't that interesting? Okay. But the statistics show, but the manosphere amplifies every example to create fear or paranoia. I don't think it's the manosphere doing that. And in particular, I don't think that many manosphere content creators really do that. Like, I'm trying to think of anyone who does. I mean, we
Fear
talk
and
about it.
paranoia.
I don't know. Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah. Well, we're really creating fear and paranoia in men. And you are not doing the same for women. And
I
if
mean,
not more.
like I don't. I mean, I know it's anecdotal, but I've had on like several men in the military who have experienced false allegations, and the way that we set up the system, again, it incentivizes false allegations.
Mhm.
Like there's no consequence to it. Women can just do it. What's the penalty to get caught on that? Maybe a fine?
None.
Maybe? I mean, like, yeah, in general, it's like, well, it can even be dismissed as a mistaken identity. Like, well, I guess he was not the guy, or I guess I didn't get raped. But not like an intentional false allegation, even though it could have started
Hmm.
that way. There's literally like no reason for them not to do it. Even if there was
Yeah.
even if you couldn't show me, like, even if you could show me that these things are rare, the fact that there's legal the laws are not set up to protect men from false allegations is enough of a reason to talk about trying to get this
Yeah.
addressed, even
Yeah,
if it didn't
exactly.
happen that often. But it does. It's usually women protecting, not women that are trying to get revenge or attention, although those things happen too. I think most of the time it's to protect their reputations.
Yeah.
So Brock Turner was falsely accused because the woman who accused him didn't want to be seen as a slut. A lot of the guys in the military that I've talked to got accused because the women that accused them were cheating on their own husbands with these men, and so because they didn't want to look like cheaters, they didn't want to get busted for adultery, they claimed that they were sexually assaulted instead, because now it's not just they're no longer a cheater, now they're like more of a victim than the guy who they initially slept with. And again, we incentivize that. We put things in place that allow that. It's like Title IX in high school, in colleges, right? Same thing. What happened to the case, the Rolling Stone case, right?
Yeah.
What about Amber Heard and Johnny Depp? She falsely accused him of like not just sexual violence, but just violence. So like this is, I mean, like it's ridiculous that we have to even talk about this. Like, it's obviously happens. It's everywhere, and
Yes.
it's incentivized.
Yes. Well, in some places, literally with money incentives. Like I
Yes.
think in the UK and Australia. Like, but so it amplifies every example to create fear and paranoia. No, what creates fear and paranoia is the fact that men have no recourse. Like, if you protect, like literally, if you protected men from false allegations the way you protect women,
Mark
well,
Pearson.
maybe not that much. Wait. Let me walk that back. I don't think men need to be protected from allegations the way women are. Right? That basically means that would be carte blanche for everybody to be raping up in here. But if you protected men's innocence when they go through this, when they're being accused of something, right, until it's proven that they did it, nobody would be doing this. Okay? I mean, there would be concern over maybe the ease at which women could do it, but at the very least, men wouldn't be being destroyed by these accusations alone. Right? And it's not us that's doing this. All we're doing is saying that this isn't right. It's the accusations that men see destroying men's lives that are creating the fear and paranoia. Good Lord. Plus, it protects abusive men by creating an environment where victims know they won't be believed. Are victims only women? See, they're really telling, aren't they? It makes men view any accusation as probably a lie. Well, they should view every accusation as possibly a lie. All right, that seems reasonable. Okay, let me go for the reverse-aroo.
Okay.
Okay, most men are trash. Oh, no, sorry. Believe women, believe survivors. In practice, men's denials are treated as suspect, and male guilt is often presumed in sexual and domestic violence contexts. That's not actually a reverse. A reverse is more what feminists are doing to minimize the sexual abuse of men by women. Because what's interesting is what this crossed my desk recently. The CDC has its new numbers out for 2025, 2026. And guess what they quietly dropped from their statistics? The last year numbers for made to penetrate. So women's sexual violence against men. They just dropped it. And the way that they managed to do it is they rechanged the methodology to reduce male reporting. It even significantly reduced the number of men even responded. And they changed the wording of the statements to focus on capturing female victimhood versus male victimhood. So they moved away from behavioral questions done by interviewers who were trained to actually make people comfortable revealing this kind of stuff, which is better for men because it takes men time to be able to explain things. Like women can narrativize things that happen to them more easily than men can. So, and especially when you're talking about something that doesn't have a ready narrative to attach to, like a woman raping a man. So they did all of this, and now they've managed to get the numbers for made to penetrate under a certain amount, not because they're less proportionately, but because they had less men answering the survey. So now they don't have to report on it at all. Congratulations, feminists. Once again, you have engaged in a campaign of marginalizing male victims of sexual assault. Don't forget, we're not even at the state of saying that male victims can't be believed. We're at rendering them invisible in the first place. That's what feminists are doing to male victims, rendering them invisible in the first place. They don't even exist. They're not even there to be believed. They just disappear. Poof, gone. Feminist magic trick. And then they have the audacity to turn around and complain about men being withholding any kind of conclusion about any particular accusation, adhering to due process. Literally they've caused male victims to disappear entirely through statistical chicanery, and they turn around and blame men for wanting due process. Astounding, isn't it? Like, again, Manosphere, guys, you really need to step up your hatred game and your rhetoric around stripping recognition of female victims and stripping women's rights, because feminists are really, really outgaming you on this. All right, they're just, I don't know, they're just like the superstars of contempt towards opposite sex victims. You got to step your game up. Okay.
Yeah, we're not both sidesing right.
No.
All right. Number 12, right? The last one.
Yep.
Modern
Don't use
women
the L
aren't
word.
worth.
The L word last. Oh shit, I used it.
What?
That means everybody tunes out. Don't tune out, guys. We're not done yet.
Oh,
Okay.
Allison, you're only making it worse when you obsess over that. Nova
Okay.
Fan 21 gave us a Rumble rant for $1 and says, I can't remember the TV show or movie it's from, but there's a guy that's a straw man of a masculine man saying, there's a female, I'm going to talk to it. Oh, I don't know. That sounds like maybe like Married with Children or something, but I don't know. I could be wrong. Or
Okay.
maybe a Futurama thing. I don't know. All right. So number 12. Modern women aren't worth commitment or marriage. The Manosphere teaches that marriage is a trap where men risk losing everything in divorce, and modern women aren't good enough to justify that risk.
Yeah, we just invented that. We
What?
just invented it. We just invented family law. Like what? Yeah,
Yeah.
all of your
Men are
object
making up
experiences.
divorce statistics
Yeah,
and
we're
child
making up divorce.
custody and alimony and
All you
child
guys
support.
who've experienced family court and divorce and have seen your male relatives and friends go through family court and divorce. No, that wasn't real. I was just me projecting things into your brain. There you go. Okay.
All right. And modern women aren't good enough to justify that risk. This frames commitment as something men give women rather than mutual partnership. That's
Well,
interesting. Can I just say that's really interesting right there? Because I would say that women are the gatekeepers of sex and men are the gatekeepers of commitment. But apparently, this is sort of exposing that if what I'm saying is true, if it's true that men gatekeep commitment, um, historically, this is trying to claim that they should never have that power and that it should be, they call it mutual, but they're trying to take it away from men and give it to women.
Yes.
Because ultimately they want to give women all of the authority and none of the responsibility.
Even
And they want
if
men
you
to have all the responsibility and none of the authority.
even if you don't frame it as men are the gatekeepers of commitment, they are the gatekeepers of their commitment.
Yes,
Right?
at the very least,
And-
right.
Yeah.
But-
So this is saying, yeah, this frames commitment as something men give. Yes, it is something men give women because men have the right to consent. Like, do you have an issue with men consenting to things, feminists? Of course you do. Okay.
Okay. It encourages men to use women for physical intimacy without offering relationship stability. What?
Well, they don't have to.
It's often paired with the idea that men should focus on wealth and sleep around while women desperately seek commitment they don't deserve.
Well, if
deep
it's not
dis-
true, then okay. But here's the thing: if women aren't desperately seeking commitment, then they're just having casual sex with men who also want casual sex. What's the problem? Why are you manufacturing a problem here? Like you're basically saying that the manosphere is inventing men or saying men shouldn't commit to women, but the manosphere is also inventing women wanting men to commit to them. Okay, well then problem solved. Men don't commit to women and women don't want them to commit to them. Like, do you see what I'm saying? They
Yeah.
want two things that are incompatible right here. They want men to be denying women's commitment. They want the manosphere to be telling men to deny women commitment, but they also want it to be not true that women want men's commitment. In which case, what's the moral problem with men denying women something they don't want in the first place? And it's all to blame on the manosphere, all this gobbledygook doublethink. Okay.
All right. The deep disrespect here makes healthy relationships impossible because you can't build partnership with someone you view as fundamentally unworthy of commitment.
But they don't, of course you can't, because you just said I'm not interested. You can't, guys, you can't shovel my walk if you don't want to shovel my walk. Like, do you see how ridiculous that is?
Yeah.
Men don't want commitment with women. And this is going to result in men not having commitment with women. So men should commit to women that they don't want to commit to. Otherwise, there will be no commitment. And you don't want that, men. This must have been written by AI.
No, I think it's real.
You think it's
I mean,
real?
the talking points are all the same ones too. Like
Yeah,
these people need new material.
Well, if they had new material, but they'd be talking our stuff.
Yeah, there's really
Yeah.
nowhere else they can go except.
There's
to
nowhere
just
else they can go. Like
No,
they've
they
gotten
have
to
this.
the
That's all. This is all they have.
They got into the absolute state of denying men the legitimacy of male autonomy. Period. Like men don't have the right to withdraw consent to commitment, right?
Mhm.
And men don't have the right to presume innocence. You know, like this is all basically just saying, men, you shouldn't be allowed to judge things. You should just have our opinions, and that's it. Like, All right. So the switcheroo is modern women aren't worth worth commitment or marriage. Now, before I do the switcheroo, I just want to point out that I have data that indicates that the current generations of women are the most sexually violent generation of women or people in history. So if men had these numbers, you better believe that feminists would be screaming about it from every mountaintop. And they
Yep.
would be saying how Generation Z is just they aren't worthy of relationships, they aren't worthy of women, that women should just boycott Generation Z because they are the rapinest generation out there. That's what feminists would be saying. So I have a lot of sympathy towards the men who say we need to boycott these current generations of women, because they're rapey. They have a real issue with the idea that men can say no. I wonder where they got that from. Maybe it's something they picked up on from this entire social movement that seems to really struggle with the idea that men have the right to things like their own mind, their own bodies, their own judgments of things, right? That feminists seem to really struggle with the fact that men exist separately from their approval. Maybe that attitude sort of filtered down to the younger generation of women, and now they think that a man saying no to them is some kind of affront to their very existence, and they gotta correct that shit. And I'm not talking like I don't know, tying up or like just light pushing. Weapons. Millennial
Yeah.
women, Gen Z women use weapons more often than any other group or generation. It's freaking astounding. That would just be everywhere. You got to know that. That would be everywhere. And Gen Z men would never hear the end of how they are not worthy of women's attention and relationships and anything because of that behavior. But of course, the reverse is not true. All right, so this is the actual reverse statement for feminists. Most men are trash, unsafe, or emotionally unavailable. Marriage relationships with men are a bad deal unless heavily vetted or state constrained. Because again, relationships with men are the site of patriarchal violence against women. So yeah, modern women aren't worth commitment or marriage. You got to up your game, Manosphere people or men, because not only you're lagging again, because the feminists not only say that men are trash and unsafe and emotionally unavailable, they also construct an entire hypothesis around that gives them incredible power over policy and HR departments and everything. And you don't have that. You don't. Like Manosphere men, you need to get on that patriarchy and up your game to compete with the level of influence. And speaking of the level of influence, I don't know, I can go through how much money each of these gender reverse feminist mainstream framing about men makes people. Because this stuff makes money, guys. Like these narratives that I just talked about, the gender reversed feminist framing, they make money. They make people money. So let's go through that. So to find out why, yeah. Okay, so men are emotionally stunted, lack empathy, cannot communicate, and need women to civilize them. Male socialization makes men less safe and less relationally competent. That's number one. How much does that make the average feminist or just feminism in general? 5 to 10 billion tied to toxic masculinity, male socialization, DVSA prevention, and gender education work focusing on men and boys. That's what that narrative supports. A $5 to $10 billion industry just focused on educating boys about how awful they are. Okay, number two. Men only care about youth, beauty, and sex. They discard women as they age and replace them with younger models, male gaze, and trophy wife culture. All right, let's see if that 1 to 2 billion in grants, campaigns, research, and media work on objectification, body image, male gaze, and related dating relationship narratives. So that's 1 to 2 billion in basically anti-lookism, fat positivity, and that kind of stuff. So that's I mean, it's not as good as the toxic masculinity in terms of being a money spinner, but it's not bad. You imagine just getting getting something like that as a check in the mail, Brian?
That would be nice.
I have a lot of things I'd fund.
I'm surprised I'm not. This is why I'm surprised people call us grifters.
Yeah,
Like I said, if I really
think,
wanted to make money, and I know their talking points. I can do them better than they can.
oh yeah, like if you're a
I'm
smart
willing to sell
person,
my soul.
yeah, if you're willing to kill your soul and you're a smart person who's got the gift of gab, you could really make bank with this. Okay, so number 3, men become less desirable with age because they are immature, stuck, or Peter Pans. Women peak later as they gain confidence, career, and sexual agency. So if men fail to launch, then they lose value, basically. 3, 0.5 to 1 billion around empowering over women, older women, anti-ageism, media narratives, and associated relationship mental health sectors. It seems like feminism actually probably should be giving kickbacks to the manosphere because the manosphere is maintaining these victim narratives that make them so much money.
That's true.
Manosphere guys,
cut.
that's an angle.
Cut
You should be getting your cut. 4, men are manipulative, coercive, predatory, gaslighting, and coercive control is framed as male typical tools to dominate partners. What's number 4 worth? That's the feminist framework. 5 to 10 billion in DV, coercive control services, training, courts, and therapeutic programs that frame male manipulation as structural. Wow, that's a lot. These narratives, these feminist narratives, they really, wow, that's for nothing, for an invented framework that bears no relation to reality. This impressive. Okay, high value women are told never to settle, keep options open. And that's a lot of cat food. Date up and leave men who don't meet standards. Male reluctance to commit is demonized while female serial monogamy is framed as growth. That is number 5. Let's see what that's worth to the feminist industrial complex. Sorry, it's just opening our again. All right. 1 to 3 billion in relationship advice, coaching, media, and NGO messaging pushing never settle, date up empowerment frames. So that's all the big dating strategy gurus, the women like Shira who tell a woman who's got the commitment of a man who's about to graduate with a degree in engineering that why should she wait? Why should she wait the 2 weeks before he graduates? I wouldn't do that. I'd want an engineer who's already practicing, like that's pretty amazing that women will pay other women to destroy their relationship prospects.
Yeah.
Okay, 6, patriarchy has destroyed women in society. Male power is this core structural harm that must be dismantled. Male privilege is toxic by default. What's that one worth? 20 to 40 billion.
20
Wow,
to
that's
40
big
billion.
for the core feminist NGO academic policy complex. So this is the epicenter. UN Women, gender ministries, shelters, research institutions, advocacy networks built on patriarchy theory. You know what? I'm starting to suspect that these people just don't want the manosphere to hone in on their turf. Like what?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, they see them as financial competition. Although the manosphere, even though there are some that have a lot of money, I don't think they made their money doing a lot of it doing this. But it's a drop in the bucket compared to this. It's a drop in the bucket.
It's like Coca-Cola or Pepsi-Cola.
Weird
one
considering.
of them.
I mean, patriarchy's slipping, guys.
Yeah, it's really slipping.
Yeah, why isn't it just raking it in? I mean, it's
not
patriarchy.
effective. Patriarchy is not very effective.
No.
Okay, so it's like that PepsiCo, like the whatever owns Pepsi, thinking that a kid with a lemonade stand is competition.
Yeah, and they're just putting out article after article about the lemonade stand.
Yeah,
and like how you shouldn't go there and buy their lemonade.
Don't go to Little Timmy's lemonade stand. Oh, man. Men are biologically, this is another feminist narrative. Men are biologically aggressive, dominance orientated, and risk taking, which is used to explain violence and justify re-engineering masculinity. It's number 7. Let's see what it's worth. Well, that's not a bad one. 5 to 10 billion for violence prevention, masculinity retraining, and school campaigns that treat male biology norms as a risk to be managed. Wow, that must be pretty lucrative for those bureaucrats. Just being the head bureaucrat in charge of whipping little boys' behinds until they learn to not be toxically masculine.
Yep.
Okay, number 8. Men weaponize sex and relationships, using coercion, cheating, withdrawal, and even rape as tools of patriarchy. Relationships are sites of male violence. Wow, that's a big kahuna. I wonder that's worth 10 to 20 billion. Well, not as much as the core, but that's doing pretty well. Like, it's a front runner. In violence against women, rape culture, and consent education infrastructures that conceptualize relationships as sites of male sexual danger. Gosh, guys, maybe maybe men should be asking for a cut of this. Like, they're starring in these narratives and they aren't even getting any royalties. 9, single fathers are absent, dangerous, or incompetent. Men abandon families and leave women to pick up the pieces. Deadbeat dad narrative. All right, what's that one? 10 to 30 billion.
Yeah, I was gonna say the deadbeat dad narrative's got to be big.
Yeah, it's
big money.
It's a whopper. That's big money. In welfare, social work, and NGO systems orientated to single mother households and premised on failing abusive fathers. I'm pretty sure that complex is worth well more than 10 to 30 billion. I think I'm going to challenge perplexity on that one, but I'll get through this first. Okay, so 10. Male power and male-dominated leadership are inherently oppressive. Any male-led institution is suspect as patriarchy and must be fixed with gender quotas and oversight. Okay, number 10. 10 to 25 billion in DEI, gender parity quota enforcement, leadership training, and compliance justified by toxic male leadership. Now, just to clarify, guys, these are approximates. It's like ballpark.
Yeah.
But that this is probably undercounts, massive undercounts, especially when it comes to DEI. I think that like 25 billion is like one BlackRock contract. All right. Number 11. Believe women, believe survivors. In practice, men's denials are treated as suspect and male guilt is often presumed in sexual and DV contexts. It's number 11 on the top 12 reversed feminist, reversing manosphere toxic attitudes towards women to reverse engineer their feminist counterparts. Okay, 10 to 20 billion across Title IX style bureaucracies, HR compliant systems, sexual violence and domestic violence, non-governmental organizations, campus processes, and legal reform centered on believe women. Woo, that's a big one too. Actually, as we're going down, they're getting a little bit. No, this one isn't. Okay, number 12. Modern women aren't worth commitment, which is mapped onto most men are trash, unsafe, or emotionally unavailable. Marriage relationships with men are a bad idea unless heavily vetted or state constrained. State's got to get its fingers in there, ladies. 12. 5 to 15 billion for services, content, and policy normalizing female independence for men and single mother family structures, often sidelining fathers. Well, there you go. Those are the 12. So we mapped the manosphere content. The manosphere are these, what they described as the top 12 most toxic manosphere talking points, reversed the genders, mapped them onto feminist orthodoxy. And the first thing we found, of course, was when we mapped it onto feminist orthodoxy was several orders of magnitude more hateful, contemptuous, universalizing, and also more powerful,
influential, and normalized.
Normal, and more money.
And a lot more money. Way more money.
Way more money. So there you go, folks. the manosphere really should stop honing in on feminism's territory, I guess.
Yeah, I
All
think
right.
that's the lesson.
Yeah, that's the lesson here.
Get off their turf.
Get off their turf. It's their protection racket. And they don't like you. Then, be nice, I don't know, YouTube channel you got there. Be a shame if YouTube were to boost you in the algorithm.
Deboost,
Yeah,
demonetize,
demonetize.
ban. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna tally it up. I just got Perplexity to tally it up. I'm probably gonna. I think that single mother one is a blow. All right. Low end, 82.5 billion per year that they're making off of misandry. High end, 18.8. Oh boy, 186 billion per year that they're making off of misandry. And they have the flippin' audacity to complain about little Timmy's lemonade stand. They have Can you imagine how many actual services could be funded with this? Like,
Yeah,
could you
like
imagine?
you can build shelters for men. You can give them.
You
You
could
can
build
better
shelters for
schools.
women. You can actually
you
create
could.
a domestic violence that actually addresses the issues, doesn't deny half the data, and really affects real change. Because you could pursue interventions not based on whether they are ideologically convenient for feminists, but whether or not they work. Could you imagine? Justin Trottier would never have to worry ever again.
Yeah.
How many people could be saved?
Yeah, that's true. But then you can't get the government to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they want.
Well, a lot of this is corporate funds too. But
yeah, sure. But I mean, like, they want the redistribution of men's money into women's money, and that's the like, why would, even if they're, like what I'm saying, if they're raking in tens of billions of dollars and they're not building any shelters, it's because they want the tax burden of building the shelters. They want the men to build them with their money while they keep the tens of billions. It's reparations or something. That's all.
It's amazing how
It's restorative justice.
How lucrative. It's amazing how lucrative this in a patriarchy that puts men's benefit first.
Yeah.
You would think that this would not be so lucrative. Denying men the right to any benefit would be so lucrative. Denying men even the right to think, to have opinions, to have lifestyle coaches for them that recognize that men might have their own particular approach to life or goals. Like, you'd think that patriarchy would be okay with. Apparently not. Apparently patriarchy puts a lot of money into proving that men shouldn't exist unless they're completely controlled by women or feminists anyway. Okay, I am my surprise has reached an all-time low. I don't think I could be less surprised until I'm actually dead. We got another super chow, by the way.
Yeah, I got a super chat and a super chow. So Frank Rizzo gave us a super chat for $20. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And he says thanks. That's it. And then I got a super chow from Meredith G. Thank you, Meredith. Let me see what I can give.
Excellent.
And she gives us $5 and says 12 toxic. So recently heard a victim advocate state that false allegations are rare, then turn around that there is this lie because 80% of accuser statements are to police are withdrawn, which doesn't mean the victims are lying. I'm going to point out that as far as the courts are concerned, an accuser doesn't get multiple bites at the apple to bring charges because of due process. While the court deemed the accusation as false, it isn't because a trial proved them false, but because the withdrawal renders the original statements as false. Guess what? When you withdraw a statement, you are saying that it's false evidence.
No, that's not what's going on.
What's going on?
This is proven false allegations. So the standard of evidence is higher than just it cleared or no crimed or whatever. This is when you compare when they talk about 2 to 8%, that is proven false accusations. So it's not this. It's not the gray area. And then they compare that to
Yeah, but they say
however many.
she's saying here 80% of accusers are statements
No.
to police are withdrawn. I don't know if you're
Okay, so it
understanding
doesn't mean they're not
Do
lying.
you understand her post?
Yeah, I understand it. Like,
Okay.
it doesn't mean that they're not lying.
Right.
Like, it doesn't, like, you can't tell anything. They're withdrawn, right?
No, I know, but I'm not sure that Meredith is claiming that they are.
No,
that
no,
they're
no.
not
I know.
lying.
She's saying that this is what a victim advocate stated, and I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
what she
yeah.
wants is to get our opinion on it. And my opinion is, one, when you compare like to like, the ratio is not like 2 to 98; it's 2 to like 4, right?
Mhm.
And in this case, you don't know what's going on, so there's no point conjecturing about it. Like that she has a data point, 80% of accuser statements are to police are withdrawn, right? She has a data point and she's reading into that. And
Mhm.
she's reading in her own impression. Oh, it's because the police aren't going to help them, or they're afraid, or they're intimidated, or they're not going to get a fair trial, right? But that's reading into it. You can't read anything into it, really. It's not a statement you can say anything about.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
understand.
So while the court deemed the accusation as false, it isn't because the trial proved them false, but because the withdrawal renders the original statements as false. No, that's not where that is put. Okay? And that's not what's informing the verified false versus the verified true. Like, this is just something that's coming out of left field.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is true. Yeah, guess what? When you withdraw a statement, you are saying that it is false evidence. Yeah, but I think that the cops will allow that maybe you're mistaken, or you updated your impression or something. Like, unless you end up really wasting their time or harming someone, I don't think you're gonna end up with a false accusation. So anyway,
Yeah.
I'll check the things and see if there's any further. Nope.
Okay.
Wait, what? No, that was Meredith. All right. So yeah, we're good. Again, feedthebadger.com/support. If you want to support the show, please help us out. 'Cause we exist because you guys pay for us. Like, you make sure that we can continue to do this. It's not the easiest narrative to keep pushing year after year after year. And it's not a narrative. Sorry. It's not the easiest reality to keep recognizing year after year after year, but we keep doing it in part because you allow us to be able to do it. And because, well, at least on my part, I can't just walk away from this. I can't walk away from the fact that men are suffering, women are suffering. There's a gigantic, pompous ideology that's continuing the suffering and making lots of money doing it. So if you would like to help fight back against that, feedthebadger.com/support. And if you'd like to send a message, feedthebadger.com/justthetip with a tip. And I'll hand it back to you, Brian, for final thoughts and whatever else.
No, I think we covered it pretty well. So I'll wrap it up here. If you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we talked about in the show today. And please, please, please share this video, because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of Maintaining Frame, and we'll talk to you guys in the next one.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.